Welcome to this opportunity. My name is Wong. I'm the CEO of UTStarcom. It's a good opportunity to come, to visit India. I've been here many times now. Overall, we look at India as actually one of our prime area of focus to continue to develop and grow our market share in here. We have been in India for many years, as you know. We have been contributing to the current broadband infrastructure in India, gaining about 35% market share at this moment. Moving forward, there are a few areas that we would continue to strike to help work with a lot of local partners and so forth, to help to work on the digital India. A lot of the initiatives that is being brought in place by the government. So the number of areas that we wanted to focus very much is how do we contribute by designing a network that is able to create affordable connectivity for India. Okay, and in there we are looking at a very innovative and out-of-the-box thinking, because in any developed country today, typically you will see a lot of multiple vendor equipment, a lot of different hardware boxes, very difficult to manage, and after all, it's very expensive. So the overall capital expenditure, and particularly the operating expenses to manage such a network, is just very expensive. For a prime opportunities in India, as we are starting from the ground up, okay, in building this infrastructure, our thinking is, leverage on the latest, greatest of technology, like SDN, okay, software-defined networking.
Just start by talking about the SDN that you
Okay. So anyway, SDN is one of the technology that it's come about. It's going to revolutionize the entire telecommunication industry. In a lot of developed countries, it would take a lot of discussion and argument because there's a lot of legacy installation in place. For almost like a greenfield opportunities in India today, this is the best chance for us to latch on a software-defined networking environment to build our next generation network. What it will entail is that it will leverage on the software expertise that India inherently has, built up all these years, coupling with open standard that's coming from the rest of the world. And in there, where we will be utilizing a whole slew of what we call the white boxes, okay, a more generic type of networking hardware, which could be done, very much locally here in India. So in that regard, we would be able to build out a very low-cost, inexpensive infrastructure, and that could be tailored to the needs of India, okay, by itself. For example, when we start to build a lot of smart cities initiative, the application, whether it's e-education or e-government, e-health, and so forth, it requires a lot of provisioning of new services that needs to be delivered. Now, a lot of these services would entail, how do we configure the different bandwidth, the different network architecture to enable us to provision the services. With an SDN, so with the APIs, that enables us to create an alliance of developers for applications, okay? So we would be looking at working with a lot of small or medium or even large-sized companies throughout India who would be building our applications for government, for education, for health, the whole thing, and leverage all that expertise as what has happened, for example, in the Android market or in the, the application store from Apple. This will bring up vast amount of new applications that we would have never imagined happening, okay? And this would create the entire infrastructure and ecosystem that can help India to accelerate in a very strong manner. Now, aside from the SDN area, we do believe also, in collaboration with all these smart cities initiative, we need to deploy what we call a smart metro network. Okay, a metro aggregation is one of the core expertise for UTStarcom. We have been very successful in doing that. For example, in Japan, we help SoftBank to, in essence, converge the three networks, the three separate networks that they have, namely the landline, the mobile, and the broadband network, into one single integrated network. And with that network, not only does it bring about manageability, it also brings about very much reduced operational expenses and capital expenditures. So with that in mind is what we believe we can help to build out the smart cities. And in there, recently we just launched our 100 gig flagship product, the TN765, okay? And extending beyond the metro network is where we are talking about the edge devices and the access device, okay? This is where, very inexpensive, low-cost devices, at the moment, actually, we are developing such products targeted specifically for the India market. So we believe coupling from the access side to the metro network and all the way to the SDN controller on the top would enable us to bring about a very cost-effective, affordable connectivity. And that's our contribution, we believe, to the Digital India initiative and to the smart cities and so forth. Last but not least, aside from a fixed line implementation perspective, we're also talking about bringing Wi-Fi capability, which we believe, when complemented together with cellular deployment, whether it's 3G or 4G, it could bring around a very low cost and very quickly deployed mass deployment of wireless broadband services to a vast majority of the population. For example, when we connect the no-fam towards the village blocks, from there, how do you extend it to the last mile, right, towards the consumer? The fastest way today is as everyone's mobile phone have Wi-Fi support already. So deploying Wi-Fi hotspots throughout those village block areas, public hotspots and so forth, will enable us to extend the reach of the broadband services to a much broader population. And that's an area where we have demonstrated very strong capability. 2 years ago, we deployed 500,000 hotspots in Japan for SoftBank, and they have already benefited tremendously from both a perspective of having reduced their operating expenses very much, because the cost of carrying data using Wi-Fi, it's only about 1/10 of that versus cellular. Second of all, with those hotspots, they were able to improve their network coverage dramatically. Okay, instead of deploying a lot of new base stations and so forth, which are very expensive to come by, so you can deploy hotspots based on Wi-Fi technology to complement it and bring about very good coverage. Going beyond that, at this point, actually, we are starting to leverage on that infrastructure to deploy what we call O2O solutions. This is what we call the online to offline solutions. So we're deploying smart solution in shopping centers, for example. Okay. It's not just offloading. We are delivering services to the merchants who are in the shopping mall, okay, to help them to manage their loyalty cards, for example, to help them to give out coupons to people who is walking by into the shopping area. We would be able to determine if a user is standing in front of their display window for more than 10 seconds. That means they are interested in the merchandise. Then you can do targeted advertising of the merchandise, give them incentive to come inside of the store and conduct the transaction. And furthermore, we have already seen results from the big data analysis that we have done. Okay, in some area, actually, these applications were able to drive e-commerce. Okay, some of the stores are telling us that right now 50% of their sales become conducted through online purchases. You know, that only happened after they deploy this solution,
So have
what
you
we call
deployed
this.
this kind of O2O solution in India?
We have already deployed it in Japan. We're doing that in Taiwan as we speak. And we are looking to also deploy the same solution in India as well. I think this would be tremendous help for a lot of the small and medium-sized enterprises where they cannot afford to do it, you know, deploy a solution on their own. Then, you know, for us to come in, you know, on a cloud-based offering, you know, this could enable a lot of these, you know, smaller shops to be able to compete and participate in the e-commerce environment as well.
Now, can you briefly talk about your focus towards manufacturing and then relate it to your focus in India?
Yeah. In the manufacturing area, as you see, you know, when we talk about doing the SDN architecture, actually we are looking to work with manufacturers who would provide the more generic white boxes. Okay, these are switches which has basic functions, but a lot of their control is coming from the intelligence of the software, the SDN controller. So our focus is working on the software side, creating the local alliance of people who build the application, and then look for manufacturers locally who would be able to provide us with those boxes. Yeah. So that, I think, it's where we believe, you know, a lot of the Make in India, you know, initiative could happen in both software, you know, perspective as well as in the hardware perspective. Yeah.